The Crusades, which spanned from the late 11th to the late 13th century, were not just religious wars aimed at reclaiming the Holy Land, but also played a crucial role in the formation of European imperialism. The Crusades marked a key phase in the expansion of European influence, laying the groundwork for the later rise of European empires. Though the Crusades were initially framed as religious campaigns to spread Christianity, they had far-reaching political, social, economic, and ideological consequences that shaped the trajectory of European imperialism in the centuries that followed. 1. The Crusades, a prelude to imperialism. The Crusades were originally called to reclaim Jerusalem from Muslim rule and defend Christianity, but the underlying motivations were also driven by the desire for territorial expansion, political power, and wealth. The idea of territorial conquest under the banner of religious duty laid the foundation for future European imperialism. Religious justification for expansion. The Crusades framed territorial conquest as a righteous cause, justified by religious motives. The notion that Christians were fighting to recover sacred land for God became a model for later European imperial endeavors, where the spread of Christianity was often used as a justification for colonization. The rhetoric of spreading Christendom would continue to be a central theme in European imperial expansion. Creation of Crusader states. After the First Crusade, 1096 to 1099, Crusaders established several Crusader states in the Levant, including the Kingdom of Jerusalem. These states were direct extensions of European Christian rule in the East, and their establishment marked the first significant territorial expansion outside of Europe under the banner of Western Christendom. Although the Crusader states were eventually lost by the late 13th century, their creation demonstrated the potential of Western powers to exert control over distant lands. 2. The militarization of religious ideology. The Crusades helped to militarize the concept of religious expansion, making war and conquest a way of life for many European powers. This militarized religious ideology would continue to shape European imperialism in later centuries. Military orders. The Crusades saw the rise of religious military orders such as the Knights Templar, the Knights Hospitaller, and the Teutonic Knights. These orders not only fought in the Crusades but also gained significant political and economic power. The Teutonic Knights, for example, would later go on to conduct military campaigns in the Baltic region, spreading Christianity by force, in what could be seen as a precursor to European colonial endeavors in other parts of the world. Colonial mindset. The Crusades fostered a sense of religious and civilizational superiority in Europe, a mindset that would be used to justify the later imperial conquest of non-Christian lands. The idea that the West had a divine right to spread Christianity and civilization became deeply ingrained, leading to the justification of imperial conquests across the globe. 3. Economic motivations and the expansion of trade. The Crusades were not only religious and military undertakings but also economic ventures. Crusaders were motivated by the promise of wealth and land, and this economic drive had significant implications for the development of European imperialism. Control of trade routes. The Crusades opened up new trade routes between Europe and the Middle East, connecting Western Europe to the wealth and luxury goods of the Islamic world, such as spices, silk, and other valuable commodities. The control of trade routes became a key economic driver in the Crusader states, and this focus on trade and commerce would later play a role in the rise of European empires, particularly during the Age of Exploration. Merchant republics. The Italian city-states, especially Venice and Genoa, played a pivotal role in financing and supporting the Crusades. In return, they secured lucrative trade agreements and expanded their commercial dominance. These city-states became powerful maritime republics with an expanding influence in the Mediterranean and beyond. The wealth and naval power gained during the Crusades laid the foundation for the Italian Republic's later involvement in global trade during the Renaissance. Financial innovations. The need to fund the Crusades led to the development of early financial practices, including banking and the use of credit. Italian banking houses, such as the Medici and Bardi families, provided loans to kings and nobles for their crusading campaigns. These financial innovations contributed to the growth of a European merchant class and paved the way for the rise of colonial ventures, which would be financially supported by emerging capitalist institutions. 4. The legacy of the Crusader states, a model for future empires. Although the Crusader states in the Levant were ultimately short-lived, their establishment and the experiences gained through these campaigns provided a model for European imperial ambitions in the following centuries. A template for conquest. The Crusaders established military outposts, fortified cities, and agricultural colonies in the Holy Land. While these Crusader states were defeated, the structures they established provided a template for later European colonization. The use of military force to establish control over foreign territories, followed by the settlement of those lands by colonizers, became a hallmark of European imperialism. Expansion of Western Christianity. The Crusades also set a precedent for the forced conversion of non-Christian populations. The conversion of Muslims, Jews, and pagan groups was central to Crusader ideology, and this idea of spreading Christianity through colonization would later play a significant role in the justification for European empire's expansion into Africa, Asia, and the Americas. The civilizing mission. The Crusades gave rise to the concept of the civilizing mission, which would become a central rationale for European imperialism. Crusaders often viewed their conquest of the Holy Land as a mission to rescue and redeem the land for Christianity, a mindset that would be carried over into European colonial expansion, where imperial powers often justified their conquests as efforts to civilize indigenous peoples. 5. The Crusades and the rise of European maritime power. The Crusades laid the groundwork for the rise of European maritime powers, which would later be crucial in the creation of European empires. Maritime exploration. The Crusades, particularly the campaigns in the Eastern Mediterranean, exposed Europeans to new lands and cultures. This sparked curiosity and the desire for further exploration. Crusaders returning from the East brought back knowledge of far-off lands, which would later fuel the Age of Exploration. European powers such as Portugal and Spain began seeking new trade routes to the East, eventually leading to the discovery of the Americas and sea routes to Asia. Naval power. The Crusades were also instrumental in the development of naval power in Europe. As the Crusaders relied heavily on ships to transport troops, goods, and supplies, the growth of European maritime republics such as Venice, Genoa, and Pisa helped to shape the future of European exploration and imperialism. The development of advanced shipbuilding techniques and navigation technologies during the Crusades set the stage for the European voyages of discovery in the 15th and 16th centuries. 5. The Crusades and the rise of European maritime power. The Crusades laid the groundwork for the rise of European maritime powers, which would later be crucial in the creation of European empires. Maritime exploration. The Crusades, particularly the campaigns in the Eastern Mediterranean, exposed Europeans to new lands and cultures. This sparked curiosity and the desire for further exploration. Crusaders returning from the East brought back knowledge of far-off lands, which would later fuel the Age of Exploration. European powers such as Portugal and Spain began seeking new trade routes to the East, eventually leading to the discovery of the Americas and sea routes to Asia. Naval power. The Crusades were also instrumental in the development of naval power in Europe. As the Crusaders relied heavily on ships to transport troops, goods, and supplies, the growth of European maritime republics such as Venice, Genoa, and Pisa helped to shape the future of European exploration and imperialism. The development of advanced shipbuilding techniques and navigation technologies during the Crusades set the stage for the European voyages of discovery in the 15th and 16th centuries. 6. The Crusades and the rise of Western imperial ideology. The Crusades played a key role in forming the ideological framework that would later be used to justify European imperialism. Religious superiority. The Crusaders' belief in their divine mission to spread Christianity and reclaim the Holy Land was foundational to the development of a Western imperial ideology based on religious superiority. This idea of a divine right to conquer and convert non-Christian peoples would continue to shape the motivations behind European colonialism in later centuries. Cultural superiority. The Crusades fostered a sense of Western cultural superiority, which was later used to justify the subjugation of non-Western peoples. Crusaders often saw themselves as bringing civilization to what they perceived as barbaric lands, a view that would resonate in the European imperial mindset during the Age of Exploration and the subsequent colonial period. Conclusion: the Crusades as a catalyst for European imperialism. While the Crusades were primarily religious wars, their political, economic, and cultural consequences were far-reaching and set the stage for the later rise of European imperialism. The Crusades instilled a mindset of territorial expansion under religious justification, created economic incentives for trade and colonization, and provided a template for military conquest that would be used by later European powers. The Crusades helped to shape the emergence of a Western imperial worldview that justified military, cultural, and religious dominance, and this imperial ideology would become a driving force behind European global expansion during the Age of Exploration and beyond.